So I briefly welcome everyone for this corporate lecture series. So Sugan Kannan is a Tamil origin businessman currently living and running his own business in Miami, Florida, USA, a graduate of Wharton Business School and runs his own management consulting business in healthcare and real estate. An expert in the jewels of ancient Indian history and traditions, he conducts presentations, corporate, tra- corporate training, and consulting using traditional Indian principles. Expert in looking at career growth of people and businesses and suggesting solutions. He is the founding chairman of the American STEM Institute, an organization focused on bringing innovative business ideas, concepts, and startups from India to the United States. Thank you for joining us the corporate lecture series, Subhakannan. Over to you.
Thank you, Karthik. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். நான் சுகந்த் கண்ணன் Miami USல இருந்து பேசுகிறேன். Today I will be discussing some of the ancient rulers of India with a focus on their policies, innovative processes, and how they led to great achievements in their era. And from each one of those historical happenings, I will be teaching you the lessons that you all can take and apply in today's 21st century managerial workspace. Learning and applying these principles will catapult your career growth and help you successfully run and manage department in business. The famous king Rajaraja Choran ruled the Chora kingdom around the 1st century CE. When Rajaraja Choran ascended the throne,
and ancient truth.
when Rajaraja Choran ascended the throne, the borders of the Chora kingdom, they were confined to the Tanjavur Tiruchirappalli area of present-day Tamil Nadu. But through various planned battles, wars and conquests, like the Battle of Kandalur Salai, the Pandian conquest, and everyone please mute their mic because there's feedback that's coming.
I think you need to mute your mic. Actually, it's making a feedback. Look. Yeah, it's muted.
So, but through various planned battles, wars, and conquests, like the Battle of Kandalur Salai, the Pandian conquest, the victory over the Chalukya kings in present-day Karnataka, and the successful invasion of the Kalinga kingdom in present-day Andhra Pradesh, Rajaraja Choran expanded the kingdom throughout South and Southeast India. These achievements are chronicled in great detail in the Meikirti inscriptions in Tanjavur. They are still there. Anyone can go and read it.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry for the interruption. Some of our students are waiting in the lobby, sir. Yes.
Sure, yeah, I admitted them. They should be joining shortly.
Okay, thank you.
For everyone join, please mute your mic so there's no feedback coming in. So I was talking about the Mekirti of Rajaraja Choran, and in Tamil, Mekirti means true fame and achievements. So through the tremendous amount of resources that were acquired from these successful strategic conquests of neighboring kingdoms, Rajaraja Choran institutionalized the transcription of the Mekirti in the Shoya kingdom. He was the first to do that. And the speciality of the king Rajaraja Choran's style of Mekirti is that he only mentions the places which were conquered by his military, but never mentions by name, insults, or looks down upon the king or the group of people that he conquered. So, what is the business lesson that can be learned from this great king and his actions in this respect? First, in your career as a business manager and in the organization that you will be working in, it is very important to talk about your successful achievements. But what is more important is not looking down or pulling down your other colleagues. You need to have that team mindset. Second, in a more pure business outlook, in the field of mergers and acquisitions, after a successful hostile takeover or acquisition of another company, to ensure the success of the merger and acquisition, because fundamentally, when you do a takeover or a merger and acquisition, if it's a public company, your main goal is to add value and increase the share price of the company, increase the market capitalization of the company. Mr. Daniel and a few others, please mute so there's no feedback coming in. So in order to ensure the success of merger and acquisition, as an executive, it is very important to ensure proper messaging to all the employees involved and bring the new merged company together. So let's look at a case study briefly. Let's look at a case study briefly in the largest hostile takeover in the history of the modern economy. Vodafone, the telephone company, acquired the German company Mannesmann, and this was for $202 billion back in 1999. But when the planned hostile takeover bid was announced, Vodafone faced pushback from the employees and unions of the targeted company Mannesmann. And in the German economy and amongst the German public, there is a strong emphasis on unions and employee rights and benefits. So since the Mannesmann employees and the German public displayed strong reservations concerning the takeover bid by Vodafone, Vodafone was facing a big challenge because this hostile takeover was essential for the growth of their business. I mean, now Vodafone's a big company, but back then, they were pretty big, but they still, had a lot of room for growth. So what happened was Vodafone they came up with a strategy. They started a major public relations campaign in order to improve their corporate image and help the takeover go through. And the best way, nowadays people take ad in IPL and other major tournaments, but the best form of advertisement is free advertisement through the media. So the president of Vodafone at the time, Chris Gent, he drafted and published an open letter to the employees of Mannesmann, the prospective targeted company for this hostile takeover, in all the leading German newspapers, saying that the takeover of Mannesmann by Vodafone would not mean any additional job losses. It would not impact the rights of the employees or the pre-existing trade union relationships in the Mannesmann company. And furthermore, this is very critical, the targeted company Mannesmann would have a sort of a supervisory board with employee representation. So they, even though the word hostile takeover, it implies a little bit of a conquest, they reframed the process into a more collaborative, egalitarian process. So these changes in the messaging to the German public and the targeted company helped the hostile takeover go through, and it ended up becoming very successful and put Vodafone as a leading telecom company at the global level. And in spite of, there's been a lot of recent M&A activity at the global and in the Indian level. So you have the merger between S&P Global and IHS Market, and also the big merger between HDFC Bank and their parent company HDFC. But in spite of all that activity, and even the tech startup boom, the Vodafone and Mannesmann merger still holds the record today for the largest M&A transaction in the history of modern business. So, as you all know, Tamil Nadu, due to its geography, it's an arid region, and it significantly depends on monsoon rains for water. And that water is critical for the sustenance of the people in the region, life, industry, and agriculture. Therefore, since ancient times, it's always been critical for the kings and rulers of Tamil Nadu to implement systems for the storage of water. And the Chola kings, whose prime territory was located in the lush Tiruchirappalli, Tanjavur, and Tiruvarur districts, right on the banks of the Kaveri River, where they encouraged and supported agricultural cultivation at a large scale, understood the critical need to implement strong water resources management to ensure prosperity of the Vyavasai or farmers. So even back then, back in the 1st century CE, King Rajaraja Cholan created an official water management board to ensure proper irrigation in all the districts of his kingdom. And he was the first to do so in the Chola dynasty. Through this water management board, he took on a lot of strong development projects, such as artificially creating 5,000 lakes as well as canals in order to catch and hold the water from the monsoon season for future use. And after examining the detailed records of his regime and archaeological evidence, historians are still unable to find any evidence at all that there was drought in his kingdom when he ruled. And what that shows is that this systematic water resource planning was successful. So the lesson for business that can be learned from this is the importance of futuristic thinking and innovative mindset to become a pioneer in your industry. Rajaraja Choyan's business is ruling his kingdom, and he deployed his futuristic thinking and innovative mindset to become a pioneer in water resource management amongst the southern kings of India. One of the canals he dug and constructed, the Urakondan Kalway, still flows through Tiruchirappalli today. It's roughly 71 kilometers long with 120 branches, and back then, roughly 32,000 acres of land were irrigated using that one particular canal. And of course, like this, there are many other achievements of the Choyan dynasty that teaches us in the business industry a lot of important lessons. But now I want to talk about the Cherans who ruled in Kerala as well as in the present day Kongu region of Tamil Nadu. The Cherans derived the majority of their kingdom's economical revenue and taxes from the maritime trade through the establishment of the port of Kollam. The port of Kollam was a very critical point of trade between the rest of southern India and what is today known in global geopolitics as the Middle Eastern region, as well as some European kingdoms. Archaeological evidence shows that this port of Kollam was very prosperous, with Greek and Roman coins and currency being found in excavations, as well as records indicating the export of pepper from the Cheran kingdom to those countries and regions. The Cheran dynasty is very special in that they ruled through a decentralized kingdom with regional chieftains of various political nadis or political units administering those regions. So this helped the kingdom maintain unity and control large territory with minimal administrative expense. The business lessons that can be learned from the Charans for your management is establishing a strong moat and unique value proposition is key for the success of your business unit. By investing in and constructing the port of Kollam, they were able to control and monopolize the entire South Indian trade with the foreign kingdoms and with groups from the Middle East and Europe. Furthermore, when the business is performing well and is at the top of the industry, to continue to keep the junior and mid-level rank and file employees content as well as motivated to continue to support the company's growth, it is important to allow them a certain level of free rein or autonomy. This can be accomplished by giving mid-level managers the authority to handle internal affairs with adequate supervision to ensure that their major decisions are in line with the goals, operations, and strategy of the company. So, establishing a strong moat and unique value proposition is critical, and being ahead of the times is key in your industry. When the company is going strong, don't try to micromanage. Allow each department to handle its internal affairs and only step in when required if there's a threat to the integrity or structure of the company. Now, let's shift to the Pallavas, who ruled from Kanchipuram and became a force to reckon with in southeast India. King Narasimhavarman I, who ruled the Pallava kingdom during the 7th century CE, is one of the very few Indian kings who has never lost a battle to his enemies. Before his reign, the Chalukyan king from present-day Karnataka, Pulakeshin II, was regularly raiding Pallava territories and creating problems for their citizens in the border regions. But during the reign of Narasimhavarman I, he pushed back against the Chalukyas. He broke the backbone of the Chalukyan army at the Battle of Manimangalam near Kanchipuram, and they ran. After the defeat, they ran, turning their backs back to the Chalukya territory. Eager to capitalize on this fear and momentum, Narasimhavarman I made a plan together, very strategic plan, together with his general Paranjoti, and pursued the fleeing Chalukyan army and attacked the Chalukyan stronghold of Vatapi in present-day Karnataka. They killed the Chalukyan emperor Pulakeshin II and returned with glorious victory to Kanjipuram, where he was given the nickname and honorary title of Vatapi Kondan, meaning the king who conquered Vatapi. So the strategy that can be learned from this episode in the history of the Pallavas, and we can learn from Narasimhavarman I, is the best business strategy is to keep pushing the enemy after a significant victory. When the momentum is on your side and the opposition is weak, you need to keep increasing the boundary of attack, specifically increasing your market share, your marketing spend, sales force, and bringing and poaching the competitors' customers into your company's fold. So let's look at a specific case study of this. Perfect example of this is the war between Google and Microsoft in the search engine sector. And Google was headed by Tamil origin Sundar Pichai, who actually is an alumni of the same school I graduated from, Wharton Business School. And Sundar Pichai, he was the product lead for the Google toolbar and Google search. And back then, browsers are much more developed now. But back then, the people used to search through something called a toolbar. And during that time, because Windows was the dominant operating system, most people and computer users would utilize the Internet Explorer browser. And they would search on Google through the Google toolbar on Internet Explorer. Now, I'm sure many of you know about how Microsoft crushed Netscape by prioritizing the bundling of Internet Explorer as a browser over Netscape when they sold Windows. So they tried to utilize the same playbook, the same competitive playbook to crush Google. And Microsoft, they were running a search engine called Bing. So what they did was they made Bing the default search engine on Internet Explorer. And you still search the toolbar. So they started to gain market share from Google. So Sundar Pichai, like Narasimhavarman I, had a Mani Mangalam moment, because now he's faced with a challenge. Microsoft, like Pulakeshin II, is trying to attack Google's strong market share in the search industry. So he came up with a creative solution. He didn't want Google to become the next Netscape. He wanted Google, well, he had a vision for Google to become Alphabet. So what he did was he pitched an idea to the senior management to build Google Chrome with the idea that Google Chrome would be more sleek, fast, and responsive compared to Internet Explorer. I'm sure many of you remember how clunky Internet Explorer is. And that's the importance of branding, because even though Microsoft is trying to push Microsoft Edge nowadays, people still have that stigma about Microsofts and browsers, and that's how effective Google Chrome was. Google Chrome is one of the most popular browsers, and Sundar Pichai in Google Chrome, they made Google the default search engine. But what they also did was that was unique was they allowed people to search through the address bar, which is where you type URLs. So you don't have to search using the toolbar. And these innovations were very critical. These developments were very critical in catapulting the growth of Google Chrome, and also crushing Bing and Internet Explorer. So people were so attracted by the quality of the product that even though Internet Explorer and Bing was the default on Windows, they would actually go and download Google Chrome and search through Google. So Sundar Pichai, like Narasimha Varman, turned Bing and Internet Explorer into a Vatapi, and he became the Vatapi Kondan of the IT world. So now I'm going to talk about the Pandyan Rajyam, which ruled from Madurai. The speciality of the Pandyans was their emphasis on bravery, military strategy, and fort building. So back then, when the Pandyan kings were ruling Madurai, the Madurai fort had sophisticated and state-of-the-art defense mechanisms that would be put into place in order to protect it when the enemy tried to attack the same. So the fort had 4 large sturdy gates in all the 4 directions, with high walls and towers for lookouts and archers. And the walls were built out of heavy stone, making them resistant to impact, fire, and explosions. The fort was surrounded by a thick jungle with trees containing prickly thorns, making it challenging for the invading army to reach the fort, and the fort itself was surrounded by a deep moat full of water. The walls were very unique. Compared to typical forts, these walls had weapons concealed in them that would be fired at the advancing enemy when they least expected it. They also had automated and mechanized systems to shoot arrows and catapult large stones. So even back then, they understood the importance of scale in military warfare. And in fact, the importance of scale in military warfare has really come to the forefront, with the push for innovation in the Indian defense industry, as well as partnerships with other countries like the United States, where they're deploying drones at large scale to conduct military maneuvers where soldiers can't access. So back to the Pandyans, they also had furnaces at the top of the fort with hot molten metal to pour down on those who try to climb up the stone walls. In the 21st century, we are living in the data world. And the lesson that this shows for businesses, managers in the 21st century is the importance of state-of-the-art cyber security systems to protect against bad actors trying to penetrate your organization's data warehouse. Customer and client data is very important. In fact, recently when the whole Aadhaar was starting to get introduced, in the litigation, one of the key areas of focus was sufficient cybersecurity protection mechanisms in order to ensure that the biometric data of Indian citizens and residents doesn't fall in the hands of wrong actors or foreign agencies. So like that, in the corporate field also, it's very important to protect the customer data as well as their financial transaction information. And in order to do that, you need strong cybersecurity mechanisms. And nowadays, regulators in India, Europe, United States, they're really cracking down on this. When major breaches of customer data happens, stiff fines and penalties are being imposed. And this is also negatively impacting the managers and their careers. So it's really important to focus on safeguarding organizational data from a management perspective. And with that, I would like to conclude this phase of the presentation. I think we have a few minutes left on the Zoom call right now. So you will transition into the second Zoom link, and we can begin the question and answer period there. So thank you. I'll log off, and everyone click on the second Zoom link, and then we can open up the floor for questions and answers. Thank you. Yeah, looks like a few more people just joined. I wanted to tell them that we are shifting. The first phase of the presentation is concluded, and we are shifting to the second Zoom link. So I'll be ending the meeting right now and coming to the second Zoom link, and we'll start the question and answer period. Nandri.